G'day ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on this, my journey into the constraints-led approach for BJJ. My name is Sam Battlefields, and today we had a very short session, and by that I mean it was only Ridwan. Brutal call. Sorry bro. It was a private session, and it started out with him asking a couple of questions about a double leg. The way he started asking was very internally focused. He was talking about the weighting of his front foot and his back foot. He was comparing the weight percentages on back foot and front foot to what you would consider boxing and Muay Thai stances. And he was talking about what's the percentage I would recommend in order to get the double leg. I sort of stopped him there and I said, bro, you're talking very internal there, so you can work that out, all right? I said, what are we looking to do? What we're looking to achieve is to get past the frames, all right? Segmentation, past the hands in order to gain access to the elbows, which is in order to gain access to the center mass, right? Same with the legs. If you pick up the ankle, you're looking to get past that ankle to get to the knee in order to control the center mass. How do you control the center mass? For the most part, it's by controlling the hips, but ultimately the goal is to get past the frames to get through to that center mass. And I used a striking analogy. It was quite striking, if I do say so myself, by asking, how do you set up this double leg? And he said, well, I try and distract them up here before going in for it. And I asked him, if in the boxing terms you were to try and throw a distraction in that you're trying to throw some sort of a jab, do you think anyone gives a fuck if it's all the way out here, you know, fucking this far away from my face? No, they're not going to care. So you've got to commit to that jab a few times at least in order to be able to get the right cross in, if you're orthodox, right? Now I said in grappling, that's a bit harder. You've got to close so much more distance, and if you're just trying to distract, it's not going to work. You've got to commit to something in order for the person to react to that something, right? You're committing to pulling them down. Fantastic. You've got a snap down. You've now got your chest on their back, and all you need to do is put them down on the ground, right? But if they pull back, then you go in for that blast double. But the game remains the same. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to connect, to get past their connections, to control the center mass, control it in such a way that when I get them to the ground, I'm in charge. That doesn't change. And I'll say it again, the game remains the same. Now, we played a few games around this. He was really wanting to figure out how he could get that double leg. But again, I said, why are you trying to figure out how to get a double leg when there's 1,000 options available to you, or if you just keep your mind open to the possibilities of them? And I can guarantee that the more possibilities that you have your mind open to, the more opportunity for that blast double, for that double leg takedown. Something that, you know, I've been working on the last few weeks is my upright, very T-Rexy. It sounds fucking so cliche. And what I noticed today was when I was keeping some sort of connection on him, everything was just trying to get on the inside, right? Anything that he had on the outside, I just moved to the inside. And what that helped me with was, as he started to duck for something, I was able to get a hold of one of his limbs. And something that I also noted, he would break down and get a hold of my leg, and I wouldn't have one of my arms deep enough to stop it on that side. If I was in a wrestling stance, he would have pinned my forearm to my thigh, and that would have been a drama, right? But in this case, because I had both my hands here, all I did was I got a hold of his other arm. Instead of trying to doggedly protect this, I just lifted up his other arm. So now his entire body, instead of being how he wants it, where he's ducked down and he's got a hold of my leg, now his arm's also like this. He couldn't finish that because he knew that he was going to get twisted over, which destabilizes his whole system. People see destabilization as simply unbalancing. I can twist your spine and destabilize your system, and that's what I'm looking to do. And not only that, because his arm's up in the air, he's got nothing protecting his inside space, so I duck under that, and now all of a sudden I'm around the other side with my arms clasped around his torso, massive underhook, or I've got his back. I'm getting excited here. It's really cool. It's really cool. So this week is side control week. The goal of today was going to be keep the hips on the floor, obviously swap over, and then the goal was just to keep their shoulders on the floor. That was it, all right? Now, being that Ridwan's a bit more experienced, and as I mentioned, the game remains the same, right? We're trying to access a center mass to isolate a limb or a neck in order to strangle or break it, right? Now, if that's the case, I brought chalk theory into effect. I wasn't allowed to do anything on the bottom other than prevent him from from getting a submission with my arm. I wasn't allowed to escape. All I could do was mess with his ability to get a Kimura, get an Americana, get a straight armbar, get anything. Here's the thing. We then tried it so that the person on the bottom could escape, and the goal was to show that it's a continuous process, that all you need to do is control, and just get it into a position where it's difficult for them to move. Put a chock behind it and then bend it over that chock. It's really not rocket science. And it linked back in with the idea of not just thinking, I'm going to get this one thing. I'm going to go for the double leg takedown. So I need to distract them up here so that I can get, I didn't cover the distance. I can never cover the distance. They collapse on me. I'm going to go for a Kimura. He straightened his arm out. I went for the straight armbar. He's put his arm up to, he's put his wrist up towards his head. It's all the same. We just need continuous problem solving rather than here's a technique, execute this technique. There is an optimal way to do this technique. People on the Discord will understand why that's a bit of a joke. But the reality is that I'm not teaching these as techniques. I want continuous problem solving. If you'd like to know more, go to battlefieldsgrappling.com.au and fill in the form. Everyone else, like, comment, subscribe.
You know something? You did say
right?
A lot.